We are often asked, what do we stand for? Now, recently, my mentor said to me, not what do you stand for, but who do you stand for? And I think in this room, I could probably easily answer that for you. However, there is one group of people that never before needed all of us to stand for them. And they are who I've stood for at least a decade or two. But don't comment on how I look, okay? So here it is. I really believe that the people who we need to stand for are our middle managers. Yes, you heard me right, middle managers. These are the beings who dwell in that liminal space between a strategic vision and the cold, hard reality of day-to-day operations, because the middle matters. And I'm going to share with you 3 roles that prove that middle managers are the unsung heroes of any organisation and any business. 3 areas where successful organisations, where you can ensure your mid-level managers shine. I like to call it the triple corporate conquest. Conduit, communication, culture. You like that? Yes. Are you sure? Do you like that? Yes. Are you awake? So middle managers, they're the brave souls that are the duct tape of our organisations. They're the ones that are patching up problems with a mix of grit and glitter. And as we dive into this, I want to share one essential statistic that I think might knock your office socks off. Somewhere in a land of pie charts and graphs, and a study whispers a very sacred number. 70%. That is the chunk of employee engagement that our middle managers are conjuring up. According to Gallup, 70% of the variance in employee engagement of teams can be traced back to the influence of the manager. But what does that mean? What it means is that if your spreadsheets are clicking with joy, ka-ching, or your mouse clicks with glee, then we need to tap our hats to our middle managers. So let's get into our first element, our first conquest. Middle managers are the conduits of organisational success. Having been a middle manager myself, and I've trained and mentored thousands of middle managers over the last 20 years, I know they are the bridge over which the aspirations of senior leadership travel, reaching the hands of those who have to bring ideas and visions and goals to life. Middle managers who understand the pulse of their team and the vision of their leaders, they translate, they engage, and they motivate. They turn a vision into success. And so the question I have for you to reflect upon, what chaos would you have without your middle managers? Or, these middle managers, they're the conduits of our corporate symphony. They're ensuring every note is played, every T is crossed, every I is dotted, or at least it's in the vicinity of where it should be. So maybe the better question might be, have you thanked your middle managers? They are the conduit of organisational success. Now, moving to our second role. The middle managers, I think, are the Swiss Army knives of the corporate world, brilliantly equipped to handle every imaginable scenario. Who here is a middle manager? Can I have a show of hands if you're in middle management? One person. Excellent. So I'm talking to one person alone. So successful middle managers know that they are not just informing. They're not just passing information. They are inspiring down. They're collaborating across, and they're influencing up. They're versatile in their communication, just like a Swiss Army knife. So let me elaborate for you. I want you to meet Linda. Now, Linda is a middle manager, and she's walking out of yet another meeting, and she sighs to herself, how do I get rid of half of these meetings? So she comes up with a brilliant idea to reduce meetings by 50% and thereby doubling productivity. But more importantly, employee sanity and possibly also her own. So Linda doesn't just whisper this idea off into the void like a wish. She actually creates a compelling presentation, complete with charts and graphs and evidence and maybe a meme as well for good measure. And she presents her argument to upper management with so much conviction that they can't help but actually accept and turn her ideas into an executive order. And so here she was, Linda, a middle manager, actually influencing from the middle, making an idea into an executive direction. But it doesn't stop just there for Linda. What she does is she communicates down to inspire. She returns back to her team, not with mandates from on high, but with a vision for more action and less meetings. Now she listens and she empathises and she empowers her team to contribute to this vision. And right now in that moment, what we see of Linda is not just another manager, but a leader, a beacon of hope amidst a fog of corporate ennui. You know, she's like the Gandalf of the office, guiding her team through the mines of Moira. You know, a lot less danger, more motivational speeches though. Yeah. So here's the thing, I'm pretty sure not everyone feels that empowered at times. But how good would it feel if everyone were this empowered? Imagine the productivity of the business when all middle managers are this empowered and empowering. And let's not forget the magical ability of middle managers to collaborate across. In a world siloed with departments, middle managers are the diplomats, the negotiators and the peacekeepers. They reach out to their counterparts with olive branches, coffee, and maybe sometimes some donuts as well. Yeah. They build bridges and tear down walls. They understand that collaboration is not just about sharing resources, but it's about sharing visions and dreams, you know, and sometimes commiserating over a never-ending Teams meeting. Yeah? That was supposed to be a joke, by the way. Or are you just feeling it? Who's been in one of these? Right, yeah. But when middle managers are collaborating, this was what reminds me of that African proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Yeah. So let me introduce you to Michelle, another middle manager who noticed that the marketing team and the product development team were like estranged cousins, polite but distant. Yeah. Michelle organised a team building retreat, and not the one with those icky icebreakers or those really weird trust falls, but real, tangible collaboration, really meaningful exchanges. And they emerged not just as teams, but as a unified force, ready to take the market by storm. Now, what Michelle showed when middle managers actually facilitate cross-departmental collaboration, the whole company moves forward. It's like a well-oiled machine, only with more human feelings and less oil spills. And so my question to you, another reflective question, how do you enable your middle managers to influence up, collaborate across, and inspire down? Think of these communicators as the Swiss Army knife, always ready with a slice of diplomacy, a spoonful of empathy, and a bit of a corkscrew twist of humour. Yeah. Now let's move on to our third role. Middle managers are the weavers of our corporate culture, knowing that every thread matters. They are the organisers of the organisational tapestry and sometimes the therapists of our office dramas. You know, these individuals aren't just the gears in the corporate machine, they're the weavers and the custodians of culture. Now, a survey by Harvard Business Review revealed that 92% of executives believe that organisational culture significantly impacts their firm's value. Yet who stands at the crossroads of this culture? Who but our middle managers? The bridge between the executive dream and the employee reality. They don't just transmit culture, they embody it, they mould it, and sometimes they have to defend against it, at the winds of change and challenge. So let me introduce you to our final middle manager, Sarah. Sarah found herself inside an organisation going through a tumultuous time. She thought to herself, morale here is so low and the silos are so high. And she wondered if the company could tell that the future looked about as fogged up as a windshield. But here's the thing, Sarah could see beyond the fog. She recognised that at the heart of the issue, it wasn't strategy, it wasn't operations, it was culture, the very soul of the company. And so Sarah embarked upon a mission. She started small with her own team, cultivating an environment where everyone felt valued and heard. They felt connected. And she introduced Feedback Fridays, not just to review what was happening in the task list, but to share stories, to share successes and even failures. And it was here in these sessions that the team started to see beyond the to-do list, to see the people that they were with, to see their struggles and their triumphs. Now, other middle managers started to pick up on what was going on, and so Sarah shared her vision, a cohesive culture, one that celebrated transparency and collaboration and mutual respect. Together, they began to influence their respective teams, creating a ripple effect throughout the entire organisation. And it wasn't long before these ripples reached the shores of the C-suite, who were inspired to adopt Sarah's grassroots initiative right company-wide. Now, the transformation was palpable. Productivity rose for sure, but yet probably more importantly, staff satisfaction and staff retention also rose. And in that moment, what Sarah had shown was that culture is not just another buzzword or a paragraph in a corporate brochure. It was the very essence, the living, breathing essence of every interaction, every decision, every moment of every work day. So powerful. And Sarah's story is a testament to the critical role that middle managers play in not just maintaining, but actively shaping the culture of an organisation. They are the custodians of the company's values, the champions of its vision, and the connectors that make the culture tangible for everyone. So I encourage you to not just think about this question, but to take it with you beyond today. How can you, regardless of your position, contribute to the culture of your organisation? How can you be a cultivator of values, a champion of vision, and a connector of people? And for our young people in the audience today, this is the stuff you need to start thinking about now as part of your legacy. Let's not underestimate the power of middle managers. They are the weavers and designers, not merely cogs in a machine. And they bring colour and texture into the life of organisational culture. So let's raise our coffee mugs, our water bottles, or whatever beverage you have in front of you, or whatever you've got handy, to the middle managers, the unsung heroes who are the conduits of turning a vision. Oh, you're raising them, I love it. All right, so to me, I want you to raise your glasses to the middle managers because the middle matters. Yay, thank you. I'm still going. So here we are, I'm still going. Okay, all right. So we've talked about what critical roles middle managers play, conduit, communication and culture, but how? How do we make that happen? The question is, what do organisations need to do to amplify these roles? So I'm going to shift the energy just a little bit now. Are you ready for a little bit of energy shift? Okay, I want you to take a deep breath in and breathe out. We're going to go into a reflection mode. Feel free to close your eyes if you'd like to. Okay, and I'm going to ask you 3 questions to reflect upon the 3 C's. Question number 1. What could you and your C-suite do to ensure middle managers can be more efficient and effective conduits of organisational success? Question number 2. What could you unlearn in order for you to be more effective influencer, collaborator, and inspirer? And question 3. What could your organisation do to change or challenge any traditions that get in the way of having more open, trusting, and empowering organisational culture? In short, to optimise middle management performance, organisations need more trust, empowerment, and rethinking traditions. Trust, empowerment, and rethinking traditions. And as you come back with your eyes open, I want to repeat: trust, empowerment, and rethinking traditions. So, how? Let's talk turkey or tofu, your choice. But let's cut to the chase. Technology, where everyone's talking about technology. So I'm going to as well. When middle managers embrace and leverage technology like generative AI, they can automate and streamline some of the more routine work, freeing up themselves for more presence and more engagement that leads to greater trust and empowerment with their clients, with their reports, and with their colleagues. I'm often asked, will AI reduce the need for middle managers? And unfortunately, in some industries, yes. However, I'm more inclined to agree with Brian Hancock from McKinsey, who said in a podcast with Microsoft, as work becomes more efficient, the need for empathetic human oversight will increase. So it's not about less managers, it's about organisations creating the experiences that build the leadership capability, capacity, and conviction of our middle managers. And with that in mind, when we think about that, organisations often take a big path of grand transformational programs. You know, that we're going to roll out a massive, big program throughout the organisation, a shiny new initiative, complete with its own acronym, because, I mean, hello, who doesn't love a 3-letter acronym, right? A TLA, yeah. Now, some of these programs, they're a bit like gym memberships on the 1st of January. Yes, they promise a new you, a new company body, so to speak, you know, all flex and no flab, yeah. However, McKinsey tells us that transformational programs, 70% of them fail. Ouch. 7 out of 10 crash and burn, leaving nothing but a trail of jargon and unused gym towels in their wake, right? But why? Why is that the case? Well, I think because it's a bit like hugging a cactus. You know, they're painful, they're prickly, and not something that everyone wants to embrace. So the alternative, one of the alternatives, continuous learning. Continuous learning that can be consumed on the go, when learning has a chance to be embedded into the everyday of a middle manager's busy day-to-day. Targeted programs that take learning out of the workshop and into the workplace will lead to an even greater return on investment. For example, for the last few years now, I've been doing work with Coca-Cola, and we've had some embedded programs in there where we take the learning out of the workshop and into the workplace. Longitudinal, ongoing, continuous learning. And our first cohort had a return on investment. For every $1 invested, we got $12 back. Thank you. Thank you. And it gets better. Because of the way in which we did the measuring of this, even that from that first cohort, the 12:1 return on investment doesn't even include a $1.2 million saving that one particular individual was able to find. So it's phenomenal, this work. When it's ongoing, when it's embedded, when it's from workshop to workplace. At 13:1 was the next cohort, and I'm really proud to say we just have measured the last cohort at 22:1. So thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. And I'm delighted to work with this client and the individuals who are doing the work. So I'm really proud of them. So let's stop overcomplicating things. Let's pause the big, wieldy, one-size-fits-all approach to transformation and put strategic frameworks back in their box and focus on one thing that costs nothing but absolutely means everything. It might surprise you. The art of conversation. Yes, you heard me right. It starts with a chin wag, a chat, a good old natter. Yeah? The kind of conversation that doesn't need a meeting room, but could happen over a shared sandwich or a coffee, or while you're standing waiting for that printer to warm up. Yeah? It's that need to go back to basics, the very easy, empowering conversations that can happen anywhere, like around the dinner table with our family and our extended family. You know, the ones where I'm talking about where Uncle Bob talks about his model train set, incessantly goes on about it, or Auntie Soon who tells you about the new garden gnome she bought, yeah, or the place where you can find a common ground with someone as you fight for the last piece of pie, yeah. Imagine applying that same casual yet really honest exchange within our corporate halls and our business corridors, where middle managers sit down with their teams and ask, if we were a family dinner, who would we be and why? And I think the answer could be quite illuminating. Let's talk about feedback potlucks, where everyone brings a dish to the table. But the dish is an idea, a concern, a piece of praise or an innovation. And no one leaves hungry because everyone gets a taste of that collaboration. Or how about strategy smorgasbords? And I'm not talking about a buffet of buzzwords, but a real selection of actionable insights where every voice adds flavour for the feast. How about a culture cook-off, where teams compete not just for the best biryani, but for the best initiatives that spice up our work life? The point is, empowerment and trust rarely start with a big sweeping program. They start with the simple human connection. It's the conversation that weave the tapestry of trust, the dialogues that dismantle the silos, and it's the chats that charge up the corporate engines. The key takeaway here, it's better than cold leftovers. Start the conversation today, not tomorrow, not after you've created a 12-step agenda. Today. Ask, listen, share. Just like those dinner conversations, we may have to be a little patient with the noisy chewers and the overzealous debaters, but ask more questions and be curious. Share your own insights and ideas and lessons learned. Listen deeply. Be present and be interested. The only way to be seen as interesting is to be interested in others. Because, my friends, change doesn't start with a bang or a budget. It starts with you, a catalyst of communication, ready to turn every "how's your day going?" into a building block for a better, more engaged, empowered workplace. Whether you are a board director, a CEO, or a middle manager, ask, share, listen. This is where the real information emerges about what's really going on, and the innovative ideas can come to life. Over lunch today, when you ask, how's your day going, and what ideas are sparking for you, ask it with the intent to listen and learn. Let us be the ones who make talking shop not just about shop talk, but about building a shop worth talking about. And back at work, give yourself the gift of presence in order to enable and amplify the performance of your middle managers, because the middle matters. Thank you.